Hey everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at The Last Tinker, City of Colors. This is a game that is unlike a lot of games that come out in this day and age, but it's a genre that a lot of people are very nostalgic about, have fond memories from, particularly, you know, the N64, PlayStation 1, and GameCube, PlayStation 2 era. This is a 3D platformer. Not really a puzzle platformer, a little bit more of like a collect-a-thon combat type thing, a little bit like Banjo-Kazooie, a little bit like Crash Bandicoot, but not really divided up into levels. I don't really want to call it like Jak and Daxter or, you know, Ratchet and Clank, because it doesn't kind of have that same kind of like weaponry side to it, but it really reminds me of those like Rare games from, you know, the late 90s, basically, and early 2000s. And additionally, it's got a little bit of vibe of games like A Hat in Time, which was kickstarted recently, but I've seen way less press for this than I've seen for A Hat in Time. And this is not to diminish A Hat in Time's, you know, success and the hype train at all. That game, I played it, it's good. But The Last Tinker has really kind of blown me away. It really surprised me. I didn't know what I was getting into going in, and I have enjoyed it a great deal. So, we're gonna get started. This is coming out on Monday, or Tuesday on Steam. I can't remember exactly which day it is, but it's PC, Mac, and Linux. It's $19.80 for its pre-order and opening week sale. I believe $22 full price after that. So, one of the things that I am going to remark as a negative, despite the fact that I'm very, very pleased with the game overall, is that it doesn't have, like, manual saves. It only has auto saves. So, unfortunately, we're just going to have to start a new game here. So, you're going to see some basic stuff. You're going to see some tutorialization. But that'll still give you a feel for how the game's going. Just because I don't want to load into something that's, you know, an hour in, or an hour and a half in, actually. Because I've been playing a little bit more leisurely. And, you know, maybe it'll spoil something. So, instead, we'll start and we'll play on, normal mode here. I haven't found it too difficult so far. It's been fairly well balanced, but in any case, it's not that relevant. I'll let you listen to the opening cutscene.
Basic materials, as long as the idea behind it is strong enough. From ancient forests to bustling cities, from the tallest mountain to the deepest ocean, all is crafted with nothing more than color, paper, and glue. Even small pets. Or giant ones. Paint is produced in the City of Colors and brings life to the inhabitants of Tinkerwell. Everybody has a favorite shade, which makes them individual. But now, the city is in danger. Fortitude has turned to sadness, curiosity to fear, and strength to anger. People have divided the city into districts, even starting to hate other colors. Only in the outer district, where all colors are accepted, are people still normal. But among them lives a boy with very special talents. Soon, he will start a chain of events that will destroy the city.
Right, so we have a fantastical story about a world made up of colors, paper, glue, paints, and we play, as you might expect, as the boy who sets events in motion that will eventually destroy the city. Now, one thing you're going to notice as we get started here is that one of the greatest strengths, probably the greatest strength of The Last Tinker City of Color, is the visual design. It's a game that looks beautiful. You know what game I forgot to mention as a very apt comparison at the start? Is Psychonauts. It's got a real Psychonauts vibe to it. I actually didn't like Psychonauts that much. I know that's, you know, sacrilege to say. But visually, I am, you know, admirant of it for sure. And this game hits kind of those same notes. Also kind of similar to Tearaway on Vita, even though I only played a couple of hours of that. It's got this, like, paper craft, but also, like, really coarse pastel or crayon thing going on with that I like. In any case, we're going to have some tutorial stuff going on here, but first things first, let's just do some exploration, well, not exploration, just some exploration of the mechanics of the game. It's a 3D platformer. Right analog stick controls the camera. I'm not actually sure about keyboard controls, as I have not used them. I should mention, you know, I'm using the gamepad for a number of reasons, mostly because that's how I grew up playing these games, but also in addition to that, this is coming to PS4 and maybe Xbox One eventually, so I think that it's kind of presumptuous of me to say that it's designed with the controller in mind, but, you know, this is my most convenient way to play 3D platformers like this, which rarely come out in this day and age. But yeah, notice and kind of revel in the fact that the environments look absolutely fantastic. And, you know, it's kind of a cop-out to just say, like, oh, it's colorful, so that's, you know, what a beautiful design, you know? Because there are dark games that look beautiful as well. I mean, Fract is another game from this year that's very visually striking, and it looks totally different than this. But I really do like the way this world looks. Looks lively, and there'll be some contrast coming up later, which will you know, kind of emphasize that fact as well. Sorry, Koru, the gate's jammed again. It'll probably take a few hours to fix. Oh boy, business as usual. It looks like we're taking the long way around again. It'll be a nice warm-up for the race. So what we'll cover in this video is probably just getting to the point where we can actually do this race here. And doing this will allow us to see some kind of tutorialized elements of the game, elements that become, you know, part of bigger puzzles or bigger platforming sections as time goes on. But also you get a feel for the mechanics of the game, which is very important. This is, again, a 3D platformer, but it's got elements of Assassin's Creed kind of going on in it as well. It you know, again, is a little bit of a cop-out to say that, oh, there's like parkour elements. That's, you know, Assassin's Creed in a nutshell right there. But seriously, the way that you platform, just by basically holding sprint and nudging the analog stick in the direction of the platforms you want to go to, it's very Assassin's Creedy, and, you know, you stick to things. It works well. It works, you know, as well as it works in the Assassin's Creed games. I've never had a situation where I, like, butted up against something, but was unfortunately, you know, unable to climb it, or, like, fell to my death as a result of bad controls, or, you know, unclear direction or something like that. Sometimes it is a little difficult to find your way around as a result of the fact that, you know, everything's so colorful, and it's not always 100% clear what you're supposed to jump on. In this case, obviously, you know, these big octopus tentacles jutting out from the ground make it pretty clear where you're supposed to go. But apart from that, no complaints about the platforming at all. And it helps keeps the game fresh as opposed to just being like, oh, you know, you run over here and then, you know, jump up and claw your way up on this thing. Basically, what I'm getting at is it's not like a traditional platformer, whether 2D or 3D. I don't think I'm supposed to be over this direction, actually. In that, you know, you're just jumping over one block high staircases on the way up. You actually have a more creative kind of like, you know, Assassin's Creed or Infamous style system of movement, which works really well. And considering this is an indie game, I'm really impressed with the way that the system has been implemented and the fact that it just works. Kind of reminds you of another one if you're not familiar with Assassin's Creed, or, you know, you haven't played the recent Infamous. Maybe Tomb Raider, the most recent Tomb Raider. I'm assuming at that point we've covered pretty much all the bases. There will be people out there who have not played all of those or any of those, but I'm sure that you're at least familiar with them. So we will do a little bit of this parkour-y type stuff here. And what's also cool, we'll encounter cargo rails later that we kind of like jet set radio across. And it kind of ties into one thing that I want to talk about, which is that this game does a really good job of kind of like, I don't know, getting your imagination going, like stoking that fire of your childlike wonder. I'm a cynical, you know, mid-20s bastard. It's hard for me to get excited about things that are kiddie sometimes, even though, as long as they're well done, that's totally fine. And this is well done, and it, you know, it's almost like it feels like a Pixar movie or something. It's got me feeling like a little kid again. It's getting my emotions rattled. It's putting me in a vulnerable state, and then it's, you know, making me, you know, activate that childlike wonder, occasionally getting a little bit melancholy when bad things happen. And there is a story in the game, and a story with some surprisingly serious consequences and overtones, actually. You know, racism, equality, stuff like that comes into play, as it's, you know, it's pretty thinly veiled allegory, I would say. You know, there's the city has many people of different colors in it, and eventually they start hating one another, and we've got to try to, like, reunify it. I mean, what you see is what you get with that, but it's definitely not just your standard, like, oh, a wizard came to town, and now everything's dark, and you gotta fix it. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, it strives to be a little bit more noble, maybe, would be a way that I would put it. What I'm trying to get at with all of this stuff that I've kind of explained so far is that this is a game where it really feels like a lot of, you know, love and passion have gone into it. Like, this is not a lazily made game at all. The visual style with, like, this corrugated cardboard stuff here is super, super neat, and it's attention to detail like that really makes you feel like this is a labor of love, and I think this game has turned out very well. I've only played about an hour and a half. As mentioned, I hear it's about 8 hours long, so I'm less than a quarter of the way through it. That being said, I've had a really good time so far. Stuff like this cool, or stuff like this too is really cool. Just helps you navigate a little bit. This is a save point, by the way. If you're noticing frame rate issues, that's my recording setup. That is not the actual game itself. Halt, monkey fiend! I am a great wizard. Now, after saying that, here he goes, and he's gonna turn the world bleak. You shall not pass. Ha ha ha! Just kidding. I just couldn't resist. That wizard outfit you made me is amazing. Thank you so much. You're amazing at tinkering. Here's 30 gems for your trouble. I'll go and show this to my friends. Good luck in the race. I will bring up this is a little bit of a complaint. So we have to do this race, and we're going to need 500 gems to enter it. So we need money to enter it. That's totally fine. You know, it sets the stage for, you know, some quests that we're going to have to do in order to get that much money, which is fine. And this will also teach us how to accomplish some of the puzzles. The one thing I will say, though, is after 20-25% of the game. I really don't know what the gems are used for beyond entering in the race, and this is kind of an annoying thing. I mentioned it in my Let's Look At like 2 years ago of Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams, but when there's like just collectibles in a game and you can't really use them for anything, it makes me wonder why they're there in the first place. Maybe there is a store or something where you can buy upgraded abilities. I wouldn't be surprised if that shows up later, but I haven't seen it yet. So we're here to register for the race. All right, that'll be 500 gems. What? Since when have you been charging canal runners? Sorry, guys, but the district is in bad shape. The tensions between the other districts are affecting us, too. If they don't produce any color, we'll have nothing to paint with, so we have to earn crystals in any way we can. All right, so we have to get some crystals here, and I'll speed through this a little bit. I mentioned navigation problems. A lot of that is just because I'm terrible with like a mental compass in 3D games like this that don't have like a very obvious kind of indicator of where to go. Luckily, there is a very obvious indicator of where to go, and if you press the up button, your pet tap here will fly through the environment, dropping some sweet confetti for you to follow to figure out just where the heck you're supposed to go, which is very much welcome. Because it means that I don't get lost nearly as often. So let's talk to these people. These people will give us the 2 quests, which are basically tutorialized elements, which will give us the 500 gems necessary to enter the race. So we need 500 gems. It doesn't surprise me in these times. Anyway, I've been helping Muddy out down at the mushroom farm. Today's my day off, so you could probably help him. Or Brick is organizing a new fighting workshop today. He asked for you personally, Koru. Maybe you can do something for him. It's a relatively minor compliment, but I really like that. I really like when tutorials are like actually embedded into a game's narrative as opposed to just being like, you know, when you press the start game button, it's like, here's the tutorial. You know, press B to do an attack, stuff like that. I like having kind of a conceit to have the tutorial. And again, it just ties into the fact that this feels like a very, very well-designed game. So this is Brick. Brick's basically telling me to come to the fighting workshop, which we will do first before we do the mushroom puzzle that will give us some more gems, just because this will give us access to the cargo rail system. I do believe you have to do both of these, so we can come up here. It also feels like a really lively world. Like, there's lots of NPCs around. Each of them have, you know, some dialogue. And I also really like that the dialogue just kind of pops up environmentally, so you don't have to, like, go over to them and then press a button, and then they're like, the sun's in a good mood today. And then, you know, they stop talking, you walk away, you walk back, and you're like, wait, do they have any quest dialogue they can give me? The sun's in a good mood today. I like that it just kind of pops up like that. Lets you know who's important and who's not necessarily important. So this is the cargo rail system. We don't really have too much control over this, but it's still a pretty neat kind of set piece here, and there's going to be a lot of them. And it really gives you a sense of scope for like the size of the environments, which is cool. Occasionally there will be moments where we have to jump because there will be like a barrier in our way that could cause us to lose health or fall off the railing. But I really like those, even if it does, you know, make good use of, or prodigious use of motion blur to kind of make it still look good in spite of the fact that you're moving a great distance. Alright, so this is a fighting workshop. The combat in the game is probably the weakest element of it. And I don't think it's necessarily shocking to say that. You know, Assassin's Creed, I mentioned when I played Assassin's Creed 4, I thought the combat was a weak element of that game. It's even weaker in this game, but it's not nearly as much of a focus. So basically the way that it works, I'll just explain it to you before we actually do the exercises. We have to do 3 exercises before we can move on. You just mash B. At least that's what I've seen, so okay, don't do that. You just mash B in a direction, so it's kind of like that, like, almost Arkham City or Assassin's Creed type thing going on, but it's way more simplistic. There's no real parrying or anything like that. I've managed to succeed without even being hit so far, and there has been a decent amount of combat, including a boss fight, basically just by, you know, pressing the button as fast as I could. There's also a dodge, and you can use that dodge to either get away, as you can see right here, from an enemy that's about to attack you, and they do have that kind of like exclamation point that pops up over their head before they're about to attack you, much like Assassin's Creed again. Or you can use it to exercise kind of like a dashing attack like that, which does a very good job. So we're going to start with this one, and this guy is basically going to say like, hey, can you execute a 5-hit combo without accidentally hitting the same dummy twice? So we'll give it a try here. I really like the characterization. You know, the characters that you come across in the game, it's a weird thing to talk about in a game like this, but they really are well developed. The characters feel real. They have real traits. Some characters are confident. It's like even the most minor of NPCs. Some of them are confident. Some of them have a great outlook on life. They're optimistic. Some of them are really anxious and melancholy and vulnerable or naive or confused. Or it's really well done. The world feels very lively. It feels like a really well done children's movie, which is not to say that adults can't get enjoyment out of it either. Just, you know, it's whimsical in a great, like, in kind of fully fleshed out way. So in order to do this, basically, we're just going to use the analog stick and, you know, get 5 hits in a row, and that was very easy. Now for this one, basically again, we're just gonna mash the button as quickly as we can. This guy's like, guess what? I got a new record, 14 hits in a row. Impressed? I dare you to beat that. So, I mean, again, remember that this is the tutorialized, this is the tutorial, so I'm not surprised that it's super easy, but all you have to do is basically hit the B button 15 times in a row. And I think this is the game's way of basically teaching you that, you know, if you just mash the button, you're gonna be totally fine. Corey, are you here to do some dodging? Okay, then show me what you can do. First, I want to see 3 practice dodges. And this teaches us how to dodge, so we can just do like a one of those, and a one of those, and a one of those. And then, how do you do it, Koru? I can't even get half that far. Okay, now it's time for dodge punch practice. You know the drill, of course. Choose a target and show me 3 dodge punches. Dodge towards your target and press B. Again, I would have liked to have shown off something maybe like half an hour or 45 minutes into the game, but because it has autosaves instead of manual saves, that wasn't possible. So, I mean, I could have shown off something an hour and a half into the game, but then it opens me up to, oh, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do, herp the derp, I can't finish this. So, I thought this was a better decision. And it also does teach you the fundamentals. We'll probably get into some combat before the end. And we definitely will get into some combat before the end. It looks like you're ready for the fight, Koru. I have something special planned for you this time. Step into the center of the ring when you're ready. So this is where the combat will actually happen. I did have a little bit of a weird scripting issue with this before, but that seems to have worked totally fine here. So basically, this guy's just going to send wave after wave of enemies here. And if you think I'm full of shit, this is just going to be me mashing the B button. I can't stress enough that... Oh, I almost got hit there. I can't stress enough that the combat is definitely the weakest element of the game, and I can't stress enough that that basically doesn't matter. I'm still very impressed with the game so far. It doesn't really feel like the combat is shoehorned in. It feels like a part of the game that makes sense. You know, this isn't like Limbo, right? This isn't a puzzle platformer which is necessarily just super heavy on atmosphere and physics-based puzzles and stuff like that. This is, you know, an old-school 3D Banjo-Kazooie style type of thing. There's combat in Banjo-Kazooie. It's a little bit more in-depth than Banjo-Kazooie, but that combat is kind of like it's a hallmark of the genre. So, as a more traditional platformer in this vein, I totally understand why there's combat. It would have been nice if it was a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more detailed, but it's not the major focus of the game, so that's okay. Mostly you just mash the buttons and get through it. So, monitor your health closely. Yeah, that's, smart idea. Final round, give it all you got. And I mean, it really doesn't matter. I haven't even remarked, but it really doesn't matter how many units they throw at me at any given time. We did not get hit there. We just mash the buttons until they're all dead. And even if they hit us, because we're on normal mode, it'll only take off 1 bar of our health. So we should be totally fine. We have 5 of those right now. So, just for taking part in the fighting workshop, we get new gloves, which prove that we've learned our skills. We will improve our, or not improve, but kind of change our character based on these quests that we complete, which is cool. And we got 250 gems as well. These 250 gems allow me to... where do we go here? Over this way? Really? Oh, it is over this way. These 250 gems allow me to... get halfway into that race, and we'll probably stop the video after we finish the race part of the game. It's got a little bit of a Super Mario 64 vibe to it too, I guess, but I think that the other games that I mentioned earlier are a little bit more of a reasonable comparison. But you know, this is what you see is what you get. It's a really, really fun game so far. We are going to have some puzzles that we're going to accomplish here. So we've got, I forget, Biggs, this is it. Can you show us where Muddy is? Alrighty. So I haven't actually encountered very many puzzles in the game after the tutorial, but this seems to hint that there is a mechanic like, you'll see it in a second once we actually talk to the farmer here. There's a mechanic where we can kind of like, you know, whistle and have a companion with us, and I imagine this will probably lead to doing some like switch or, you know, in this case, mushroom-based puzzles that we'll come across later. Otherwise, I can't imagine why they would bother tutorializing it. So, again, to skip through a little bit of the dialogue here, basically, this farmer is telling me, like, hey, I'll give you some money if you help me cultivate or harvest my kind of mushroom field here. So, the way that we do this is we can whistle to him. Maybe he'll talk to us and tell us about this in just a second here, because I don't seem to have the ability yet. Alright, so by whistling to him, I can get him to rest on these mushroom beds, and when he rests on the mushroom beds, they will... you know, germinate. They'll flower, I guess. So if I just take him over here and whistle, he'll follow me. And we can do it over here again as well. And basically what we gotta do is navigate and activate these mushroom beds over here. If we get out of a certain range, he won't follow us, but we can just hold down left bumper and he will follow us. Very, very simplistic so far, but we will get a little bit more complex over the course of the tutorial, but not very complex. So now we'll talk to him again now that we've done the first section. Not bad for a first try. We'll leave the beds like that. I'll harvest the shrooms later. Now on to the next bunch. So I'll get him to follow us. And we're going to come down here. And now we've got to deal with a little bit more platforming, I think. But nothing too major. So he'll just still follow us. And I'll get him to rest on this one right over here. Very easy. And then keep following, please. Stay up. Rest over there. I think if I hold the whistle button, he can't actually platform, but he'll, like, automatically path to where I need him to be. Like, the closest possible part that he can find. Is this correct? Maybe not. Maybe that is not true at all. I need to go back here because I actually failed to activate a switch. I did have it happen, and you'll see it in, like, the third section of this tutorial. I had it happen where he actually did follow me in a different form, in a way that I didn't think the AI would actually be capable of doing. So I was really impressed by that, but we'll see if I can replicate it here. So this is the third bed. So he'll come here. Where is the fourth bed? I guess it's maybe across this bridge over here. Oh, I just missed one right here. That's fine. All right. So you go there, and that's all four for us. So make sure we bring him back to us, or bring him back with us, I should say, because he's going to be an important part of this next phase. Unfortunately, Big's a little bit too big for the bridge and actually caused the bridge to collapse. But that's where we learn a new mechanic. One thing I want to mention as we learn this new mechanic, which is basically just like go to any flowering mushroom bed, and if you press the switch, then he comes back to life. While we discuss that or learn that mechanic, I do want to mention the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack does a very reasonable job. Or reasonably good job of kind of setting the tone. It's got a different flavor for each different sector. Like right now we're in kind of like the tutorial world. It's a little bit, you know, Milo and Otis kind of laid back, you know, sipping some lemonade on the front porch type vibe going to it. We enter like the red district a little bit later. The red district is the district of anger. We get kind of like almost like some tribal polyrhythms or something like that. It really gets the testosterone flowing. You know, it does a good job of characterizing the environments. And it's nice because normally when you talk about a soundtrack in a video game, or at least normally when I do, because I'm, you know, a Philistine, I just end up being like, does the music sound good? Yes or no? Well, if yes, then great. If no, then okay, that sucks. But here it actually does lend itself well to the character of the environments as well. It really makes the whole thing feel quite unified. All right. You know what this game reminds me of visually as well? A little bit of Tiny and Big in Grandpa's Leftovers. So basically, I don't know if he's actually taught us this yet, but by putting Biggs under that large flower, we can turn Biggs into Bomber. And we have to turn Biggs into Bomber because otherwise he won't be able to fit under this arch here. So we're just going to put Bomber there, and I'm going to keep him kind of like attached to me just to see if he does follow me. Is he coming? He is coming here. And I'll break these so he can actually sneak through. Good. And, you know, Bomber is still capable of manipulating or flowering these mushroom beds. Again, it's a little peculiar that I've never seen a puzzle like this in the actual game proper, but I am still relatively early on. Oh, I almost fell there. I am still relatively early on, keep in mind. How am I supposed to get back? Oh, I know how. I'm an idiot. My mistake. I'm still relatively early on, so again, I can't imagine that they would spend this much time tutorializing an element like this in the game unless it actually, you know, unless you actually have these kind of like escort puzzles that you have to do a little bit later. So I'm assuming that this and combat were both heavily important to emphasize and tutorialize, and that's why we're doing them here, even though I haven't seen it actually in the game proper. So, you go there. Oh, don't walk into the spikes. We've got to be a little bit more escorty here, because if we walk into those spike plants, Bomber only has 1 health, so he'll die, like, right away. They're all done? Okay, so we'll go back here and talk to Muddy. Don't fall in the water. That was kind of close. And we can just platform back over here. And he should pay us here. You did it, kid, and boy, were you fast. I think you've earned yourself a little bonus today. Meet me by the patio so I can pay you. And he runs a little slowly for my taste, but that's okay. Not everybody can be as fast as me. We go into the right here. All right, old man. That's okay. And he's second now. I'm going to break some of his shit up here just so I can maybe get back to full health. And we spilled some color as well. Hopefully that wasn't his life savings. All right, here you go, kid. 250 gems. You've earned every crystal. You can have my old backpack, too. It should help you carry all that money around. Hee hee. Wonderful. Thank you for the backpack. Now, we'll just wait for him to leave, and we'll go back to the race. And this will be the last thing that we'll actually accomplish over the course of this video. We'll do the race, and you'll kind of set the stage. We'll, you know, learn about one of the villains, or is he really a villain? We don't know, that we're going to encounter. Loading times, super quick. Your mileage may vary depending on what PC, or what, you know, the caliber of your PC is. This thing's getting a little old, but it still handles it very well. So we have some combat here, and you're learning this. Remember, different colors are starting to not like each other very much. These are the red colors, aka basically the color of anger. Look, guys, it's Monkey Face. He's the one Bolzo told us about. Sorry, Gutter Ape. These are made-up pejoratives, but they sound quite vulgar. Oh, it looks like Bolzo is afraid of losing against us. What'd you say? I say your fearless leader is a coward and a cheat, and I say you've just earned yourself some new colors. I'll apply them with my fists. So we'll have a little bit of combat here. Again, you might think, hey, these guys are actually fighting for real. The combat's going to be more difficult. It's not. You pretty much just bash people in. I think I almost took some damage there. You pretty much just bash people in with the B button as much as you possibly can, and they'll drop gems. So basically, we're, you know, doing like assault and battery and maybe a little bit of robbery here as well. But that's okay, because I don't really know what to use the gems for. Finally, we will be able to register for the race here. This guy's the, you know, Roger Lodge of The Last Tinker, if you will, the main villain. Are you certain you're not too scared to face me? Bolzo, if you're so sure of yourself, then don't send your goons against us. Kicking their butts was a nice warm-up, though. Now will you let us pay our registration fee so we can let you eat our dust? You watch it, sheepy, or one day I'll make mittens out of you. Wow, this is a real jerk. So basically this guy's like, hey, I hope that bully wasn't causing you too much of a problem. Yeah, thanks, Getty Lee, for, you know, standing up for me there. You freaking adults not helping me at all. Alright, so we're gonna do the race. Race, a hallmark of the 3D platformer genre ever since you, you know, raced Koopa in Mario 64. Bolzo is a dirty cheater. He jumps out ahead of the starting gate opening, and nobody seems to be watching, which is not necessarily great because he is going to be rewarded for his actions here. Now, they also sabotage everybody else's attempt at the race. I don't actually know if the race is winnable here, but it's a fun little side quest regardless, and it sets the stage for what's going to happen over the course of the rest of the game. So we can actually use RB, right bumper, to jump over the kind of X's in our path here. It doesn't always go slow-mo, which is great because that would be really, really freaking annoying if that happened every single time. So yeah, he's still going to beat us because I did it much faster this time, but he still is at like exactly the same scripted part that he was at before. So that must be guaranteed, basically. It's also the shortest race of all time. I don't know if this is like, you know, 100 meters or something like that. But we have now lost. And I think that's what we're going to call it. But basically, you know, he tries to give the prize money to this guy. And we go, hey, don't give the prize money to that guy. He's a real asshole. But I think I should probably stop showing off The Last Tinker City of Color right now. Really, really good game. I've enjoyed it a lot. This is not really my genre of choice. I don't know if I'm going to play it all the way through when, you know, the cameras are not rolling. But it is some of the most impressed I've been with a game this year so far. I think people who are fans of this kind of game, people who, you know, paid very close attention to the Hat in Time Kickstarter. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just, you know, if you're a fan of that stuff, go check this out. This is really cool. It's, you know, premium price point for indie games on Steam at the, like, $20 range. But it's also a premium quality indie game from what I've played so far. And again, I'm not making any, you know, accusations that indie games are typically worse or less polished than AAA games. I'm just saying, compared to most of the stuff I play, this is, you know, fully fleshed out. Feels like a really unified vision, and it's just really fun as well. And the visual design is excellent. Story's pretty good too. Combat's a little rough, but you know, it's a means to an end. So I would definitely recommend checking out The Last Tinker. You can, again, pre-purchase it on Steam. It gets you access to the original soundtrack and a little bit of a discount. Not very much, though. And if you want to wait for it to come out, that'll be on Monday or Tuesday. It's the 12th. 12th of May. Today's the 9th, and it's Saturday. So it's going to be Tuesday, I guess. But in any case, there will be a link in the video description to pick it up if you're interested. Of course, on a personal level, if you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. It helps out a great deal. And, of course, subscribe if you want to see more first impressions in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Let's Look At of The Last Tinker. And I'll see you next time.